Who was Queen Elizabeth II? Part 2. Grandchildren and Great-Grandchildren. Charles and Diana gave birth to Elizabeth's grandsons Prince William, who was created Duke of Cambridge upon his own marriage in 2011, second in line to the throne, in 1982, and Prince Harry in 1984. Elizabeth has emerged as a devoted grandmother to William and Harry. Prince William has said that she offered invaluable support and guidance as he and Kate Middleton planned their 2011 wedding. On July 22, 2013, Elizabeth's grandson William and his wife Catherine, the Duchess of Cambridge, welcomed their first child, George Alexander Louis, a successor to the throne known officially as His Royal Highness Prince George of Cambridge. On May 2, 2015, William and Kate welcomed their second child, Princess Charlotte Elizabeth Diana, the Queen's fifth great-grandchild. On April 23, 2018, they followed with their third child, Prince Louis Arthur Charles. On May 6, 2019, Prince Harry, Duke of Sussex, and his wife, Meghan Markle, gave the Queen another great-grandchild with the birth of their son, Archie Harrison Mountbatten Windsor. In addition to Prince William and Prince Harry, the Queen's other grandchildren are Peter Phillips, Princess Beatrice of York, Princess Eugenie of York, Zara Tyndall, Lady Louise Windsor, and James, Viscount Severn. She was also a great-grandmother to 10. Family tree. Elizabeth II's father and mother were known as the Duke and Duchess of York. Her father, Prince Albert, Duke of York, was the second son of Queen Mary and King George V. Her mother was Lady Elizabeth Bowes-Lyon. Elizabeth had ties with most of the monarchs in Europe. Her British ancestors include Queen Victoria and King George III. Reign. Elizabeth's long and mainly peaceful reign was marked by vast changes in her people's lives, in her country's power, how Britain is viewed abroad, and how the monarchy is regarded and portrayed. As a constitutional monarch, Elizabeth did not weigh in on political matters, nor did she reveal her political views. However, she confers regularly with her prime ministers. When Elizabeth became queen, post-war Britain still had a substantial empire, dominions and dependencies. However, during the 1950s and 1960s, many of these possessions achieved independence and the British Empire evolved into the Commonwealth of Nations. Elizabeth II thus made visits to other countries, as head of the Commonwealth and a representative of Britain, including a groundbreaking trip to Germany in 1965. She became the first British monarch to make a state visit there in more than 5 decades. During the 1970s and 1980s, Elizabeth continued to travel extensively. In 1973 she attended the Commonwealth Conference in Ottawa, Canada, and in 1976 traveled to the United States for the 200th anniversary celebration of America's independence from Britain. More than a week later she was in Montreal, Canada, to open the Summer Olympics. In 1979, she traveled to Kuwait, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the United Arab Emirates and Oman, which garnered international attention and widespread respect. In 1982, Elizabeth worried about her second son, Prince Andrew, who served as a helicopter pilot in the British Royal Navy during the Falklands War. Britain went to war with Argentina over the Falkland Islands, a clash that lasted for several weeks. While more than 250 British soldiers died in the conflict, Prince Andrew returned home safe and well, much to his mother's relief. In 2011, Elizabeth showed that the crown still had symbolic and diplomatic power when she became the first British monarch to visit the Republic of Ireland since 1911. As Queen, Elizabeth modernized the monarchy, dropping some of its formalities and making certain sites and treasures more accessible to the public. As Britain and other nations struggled financially, Britain abolished the civil list in 2012, which was a public funding system of the monarchy dating back roughly 250 years. The royal family continues to receive some government support, but the Queen cut back on spending. Despite the occasional call to step aside for Charles, Elizabeth remained steadfast in her royal obligations as she passed her 90th birthday. She continued making more than 400 engagements per year, maintaining her support of hundreds of charitable organizations and programs. However, in late 2017 the monarchy took what was considered a major step toward transitioning to the next generation. On November 12, Charles handled the traditional Remembrance Sunday duty of placing a wreath at the Cenotaph War Memorial, as the Queen watched from a nearby balcony. In August 2019, Elizabeth made a rare intrusion into political matters when she agreed to a request by Prime Minister Boris Johnson to prorogue Parliament until October 14, less than 3 weeks before Britain's planned departure from the European Union. Relationship with Prime Ministers. Elizabeth had 15 Prime Ministers placed into power during her reign, with Queen and PM having a weekly, confidential meeting. She enjoyed a father-figure relationship with the iconic Winston Churchill, and was later able to loosen up a bit and be somewhat informal with Labour leaders Harold Wilson and James Callaghan. In contrast, she and Margaret Thatcher had a very formal, distant relationship, with the PM tending to be a grating lecturer to the Queen on a variety of issues. Tony Blair saw certain concepts around the monarchy as somewhat outdated, though he did appreciate Elizabeth making a public statement after the death of Diana. Later, Conservative leader David Cameron, who is Elizabeth's fifth cousin removed, enjoyed a warm rapport with the Queen. He apologized in 2014 for revealing in a conversation that she was against the Scottish referendum to seek independence from Great Britain. Theresa May was described as being tight-lipped about Brexit plans to leave the European Union, with a rumor circulating that Elizabeth was perturbed over not being informed about future exit strategies. Threats to Queen Elizabeth and the royal family. Elizabeth worked tirelessly to protect the image of the monarchy and to prepare for its future. But she saw the monarchy come under attack during her lifetime. The once revered institution weathered a number of storms, including death threats against the royal family. In 1979, Elizabeth suffered a significant personal loss when Lord Mountbatten, her husband's uncle, died in a terrorist bombing. Mountbatten and several members of his family were aboard his boat on August 27, off the west coast of Ireland, when the vessel exploded. He and 3 others, including one of his grandsons, were killed. The IRA, which opposed British rule in Northern Ireland, took responsibility for the attack. In June 1981, Elizabeth herself had a dangerous encounter. She was riding in the Trooping the Colour, a special military parade to celebrate her official birthday, when a man in the crowd pointed a gun at her. He fired, but, fortunately, the gun was loaded with blanks. Other than receiving a good scare, the Queen was not hurt. Elizabeth had an even closer call the following year when an intruder broke into Buckingham Palace and confronted her in her bedroom. When the press got wind of the fact that Prince Philip was nowhere to be seen during this incident, they speculated about the state of the royal marriage. Diamond Jubilee. Elizabeth celebrated her Diamond Jubilee in 2012, marking 60 years as Queen. As part of the Jubilee festivities, a special BBC concert was held on June 4 featuring the likes of Shirley Bassey, Paul McCartney, Tom Jones, Stevie Wonder and Kylie Minogue. Elizabeth was surrounded by family at this historic event, including her husband Philip, son Charles and grandsons Harry and William. On September 9, 2015, she surpassed her great-great-grandmother Queen Victoria as Britain's longest ruling monarch, who reigned for 63 years. Sapphire Jubilee. On February 6, 2017, the Queen celebrated 65 years on the throne, the only British monarch to ever celebrate her Sapphire Jubilee. The date also marks the anniversary of the death of her father. The Queen chose to spend the day quietly at Sandringham, her country estate north of London, where she attended a church service. In London, there were royal gun salutes at Green Park and at the Tower of London to mark the occasion. The Royal Mint also issued 8 new commemorative coins in honor of the Queen's Sapphire Jubilee. Platinum Jubilee. In 2022, the nation celebrated Elizabeth's Platinum Jubilee year. She was the first British monarch to reach that milestone, which marks 70 years on the throne. Diamond Jubilee. Elizabeth celebrated her Diamond Jubilee in 2012, marking 60 years as Queen. As part of the Jubilee festivities, a special BBC concert was held on June 4 featuring the likes of Shirley Bassey, Paul McCartney, Tom Jones, Stevie Wonder and Kylie Minogue. Elizabeth was surrounded by family at this historic event, including her husband Philip, son Charles and grandsons Harry and William. On September 9, 2015, she surpassed her great-great-grandmother Queen Victoria as Britain's longest ruling monarch, who reigned for 63 years. Sapphire Jubilee. On February 6, 2017, the Queen celebrated 65 years on the throne, the only British monarch to ever celebrate her Sapphire Jubilee. The date also marks the anniversary of the death of her father. The Queen chose to spend the day quietly at Sandringham, her country estate north of London, where she attended a church service. In London, there were royal gun salutes at Green Park and at the Tower of London to mark the occasion. The Royal Mint also issued 8 new commemorative coins in honor of the Queen's Sapphire Jubilee. Platinum Jubilee. In 2022, the nation celebrated Elizabeth's Platinum Jubilee year. She was the first British monarch to reach that milestone, which marks 70 years on the throne. Elizabeth died peacefully at her Balmoral estate on September 8, 2022. She was 96 years old.